Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Ganganapate Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Shri Paramagurubhyo Namaha. Shri Hanumate Namaha. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 8th of January 2026. I want to offer prostrations, Ananta Koti Namaskaram, Ananta Koti Pranams, Dandvat Pranam, Pradikshana and Pushparpanam at the feet of all enlightened beings on the planet today, yet to come in the future, who have come in the past, and to the one unchanging Supreme Brahman, Parabrahma, Paramatma, residing everywhere at all times. We are continuing by the sheer Krupa, Purna Krupa, Bhagavad Krupa, to further contemplate and understand as clearly as possible the path of Shuddha Upasana, Divya Upasana, in connection to one Ishta Devata, with all other forms of God as being Pujya and one as being Upasya and Ishta. This is the path of Upasana. Many times this is not understood clearly. There's a lot of confusion about it. We're trying to clarify it. It is an extraordinary path to take when our antakarana, as we were talking about this yesterday, mana, buddhi, chit, ahankar, manas, buddhi, chit, ahankar, this is our internal world. This antakarana gets purified, stabilized, harmonized. These are words that we've always been using. This is our actual goal. We want to have the inner space very, very integrated, where Shakti inside the Antakarana is not damaged. We've been talking about Gnan Shakti, Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti. Now you'll see how they combine together inside of us in the internal connection towards that Parabrahma Tattva through Shraddha. Right? So it is Shraddha that is developed, which is faith in loose sense of the word, that भगवान इस सत्य, भगवान का जो धाम है वो सत्य है, भगवान का स्वरूप सत्य है, भगवान के अनादि भक्त सत्य है, भगवान के मुक्त सत्य है, भगवान के जो शास्त्र वो सत्य है. दैट इज श्रद्धा. भगवान के जो संत परंपरा है, सत्पुरुष, संत परंपरा, दैट इज सत्य. एंड दिस संसार that we are seeing, sansar meaning this material existence that we are seeing, this is only relatively real, not ultimately real. It is called Vyavarika Satyam. It is real, but it is only temporarily real. So with this vision, Shraddha develops. Because without Shraddha, the Ishta Bhakti will never develop. It cannot develop. It has to be through the foundation of Shraddha. And what kind of Shraddha? Without any doubts, without any disturbance, without any kind of other distortion inside, none of that. And that Shraddha has Shakti. The Shakti inside Shraddha is, in its real sense, when Shraddha really opens up, but there's total Sharanagati, reliance on God, faith in Paramatma, things like that. You know, Sharanagat Vatsal, Bhagwan ko kehte, Bhagwan Sharanagat Vatsal hai. When a devotee takes the shelter of God, Bhagwan ke Sharanarvind ka jo shelter hai, you know, taking the shelter of the Ishta Devata, Bhagwan, isme एक special, something very interesting happens, that he takes care of it, like a small child is taken care of by the mother, just like that. then there's no burden on our side. The only thing that is our responsibility is to take the shelter, to turn our ahankar away from the sansar into that divyata. Yehi nahi hota. This is where the trouble is, because we don't want the ahankar to turn away from all of its binding inside the sansar. That turning away from the sansar, the binding of the sansar particularly, not the activity. Activity will continue in its own way. But the turning away from the sansar towards Bhagavad Tattva, that is Vairagya. The wisdom to understand the scriptures and Bhagavan ka Swarup and the Atman and all these other things, this is Gnan. In Shikshapatri, Gnan is defined as Jeev, Ishwar, Maya ka jo clear understanding, that is Gnan. So, the Shakti inside Shraddha is like a rocket, it's like a booster rocket. It's the booster rocket from inside. It will awaken the internal dormant power that is hidden inside. Gnan Shakti, Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti will open completely from inside when there is complete Shraddha. That is called Purna Shraddha. Let's look at an example. Let's look at practical example. We've been talking about creating a meditation room and having a space for doing dhyan. Yes, you have to keep all those points in mind. Those are all external changes that need to happen. Now, when a bhakta, a devotee, I'm just going to use the example of Sri Krishna, but you can use any Ishta Devata. When a bhakta wants to connect with Sri Krishna, how is that going to happen? It happens through Shraddha. Shraddha in what? First of all, Shraddha in the Bhagavad Gita. That you keep the Bhagavad Gita, of course, as a scholarly text and study, and that university professors are doing that. But this goes beyond that. This is now Divya Shastra, not just something scholars are studying. It pujaniya hai. It is worthy of pujan. So the Gita ji is held in the hand, it is kept in the temple, it is kept at the feet of Sri Krishna and Radha ji. I'm using just them as an example, but Gita should be there in everybody's life anyway. To have Shraddha in the Gita is a different level than having just analysis of the Gita and just intellectual analysis. You can do a lot of it now easily, and scholars have been doing it for a long time. That is intellectual analysis. Wo bhi acha hai, but that is not necessarily Shraddha. That may lead to Shraddha. Shraddha is where there is acceptance, deep internal belief. It's a belief that every word of the 700 verses is real. हाँ, इसको कहते हैं गीता जी में श्रद्धा है हमारे जीवन में. We have to ask ourselves this question. The Sachin's humble recommendation, anybody who says they are part of Sanatan Dharma or following Sanatan Dharma in any which way, which we mistakenly call as Hinduism, that's a word given by the Western conquerors and all that. That's ridiculous. That's not what it is. There's no ism and there's no Hindu. Ye dono shabda total wrong shabda hai. These words are not there anywhere in the scriptures. Kahi shabda Hindu shabda hi nahi hai. That's a wrong word completely. There's no word actually. There's no one word that describes this tradition. That's why it is called Sanatana. Sanatana means eternal. It doesn't have a boundary. It doesn't belong to one group or anything. It's Satyam. It's truth. So this ism and all this thing, this is bakwas baat hai sab. This is all Western stuff that has been contaminating the Eastern tradition. It's not an ism. There's no ism in this. So the Bhagavad Gita is not an ism. The particular just one belief. It's not like that. Or just section it off from its universe. It is Satyam that is for everybody at all times, in all places, in all situations, in all Brahmand, everywhere. That is Shraddha. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Because it is the extract of all the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita. So that is how Shraddha. See, Shraddha is a dimension above the intellectual analysis and categorization and analysis and all these things that scholars and religious people have done, conquerors have done, others have done. People are interested in always sectioning off one versus another. I am this, but you are that. I am this, but you are that. Everybody's liking to do that. That is ahankar only. Sachin's humble interpretation, आपकी जैसी इच्छा. Upanishad में क्या लिखा है? ईशावास्यमिदं सर्वम. What kind of this foolishness is there? One versus another, one group versus another, one sect versus another, one tradition versus another, me versus you versus this versus that. This is gone. In the 6 Mahavakyas of the Upanishad, all division is gone. And until that happens, there is no possibility of Ishta Bhakti in the real sense. Bhakti aayegi bhi nahi. It's just a superficial emotional game. Division. To do bhakti with divisiveness inside? Can that happen? No way. No way. It might seem like a lot of bhakti. It's not real bhakti. How can it be? Because ahankar is trying to grab hold of bhakti. Ahankar cannot grab hold of bhakti. Ahankar has to be completely turned over at the feet of Shriman Narayan. And when that happens, it's only when that happens that bhakti opens. Bhagwan ke jo charan hai, the ahankar is turned over, and that turning over is Shraddha. So let's go back to this. The Bhagavad Gita. Is there Shraddha inside the bhakta? Not just a superficial bhakta, real, solid bhakta. Paripakva bhakti, paripakva bhakta. Paripakva is a Gujarati word, like a ripened, like a mango that is fully ripened. Sweetness. This ripening is what we are trying to accomplish here every day. That's why we do so many bhajans and mantras and all this thing we do every day starting at 7 o'clock. It is to ripen our antakarana. The ripening of the antakarana. That is where the sweetness shines in the personality of the bhakta. ऐसे भक्त का दर्शन करने के से, when we do darshan of such a bhakta, हमारे अंतकरण में शांति मिल जाती है. It is not about intellectual analysis or just lots of words or lots of whatever it is, all the other things. No. So Shraddha has Shakti. That Shakti is Gnan Shakti, Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti combined together with 100% conviction, Nishta, that every single word in the 700 verses of the Gita is correct, it is real, and every word that is spoken where it says Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, that is Paramatma in the form of those words only. That is called Shraddha in the Gita. Okay, right? Now how to get to that, we have talked about it before. We can talk more about it if we want, certainly. But let's go to another part of Shraddha now. That is Shraddha in the name of the Ishta. Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Sri Krishnam Tvam Gatir Mama. So many mantras are there. Bhagwan Krishna ke mantra. Lots of mantras are there. Given by Guru Parampara. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The mantra should be understood. Who is giving the mantra? The person who popularized this was Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji, and then Parampara, in Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, other Paramparas. Bhagwan Krishna ke mantra bahut hai. Different Paramparas have different mantras of Krishna, but Krishna Tattva is only one. I'm just using Krishna as an example. This is true for all the any Ishta Devata. In the history of the mantra, you should understand, do all the research. Then try it out. See what is the anubhav. So the mantra mein shraddha. We talked about Gita ji mein shraddha. Mantra mein kaisi shraddha? How does that happen? Who is giving the mantra? Unka जीवन कैसा था? What was their life like? What would their disciples, the Guru Shishya Parampara that is there, that where that mantra has filtered down, has come down to us. What is the link and what is the history? Like in the Swaminarayan Sampradaya, there is the Swaminarayan mantra. Swaminarayan is a mantra actually. What is the history? What is the power behind it? What is the lineage? So much study is required. Then the Shraddha comes about, what is this mantra? Where did it come from? What is its meaning? How to chant it? When to chant it? What to do with all that? All that background study has to be there. Then that Shraddha develops that, yes, I want to do it. And it's not just by the study, it's by practice. You start chanting it in the temple, in front of the Murti. Bhagwan ki Murti is no longer just Murti. That's the third part. We'll get to that in just a moment. It is Archa Avatar. And that mantra becomes absorbed inside. It's not spoken just verbally. It is filtered inside the antakarana. It is a sound. Every mantra is a sound. That sound acts on the antakarana. It's a big discussion on that. What happens inside. But it's a matter of developing Shraddha in the mantra. Ki ye satya baat hai. That this is correct. Now the mantra, remember, repetitive mantras are like, the mantras are all repetitive. But the repetition is for absorption. Sri Krishnam Tvam Gatir Mama. Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Om Klim Krishnaya Govindaya Gopijana Vallabhaya Swaha. These are all mantras. Yes. Those beautiful mantras, they get absorbed. But remember, the verses of the Gita, chapter 12, chapter 15, chapter 16, different verses, you can select one verse that touches your heart, that Sri Krishna has taught, and make it a mantra. It is a shlok. It's a poem. The Gita is a poem actually, right? Gita means it's a song actually. In the Sanskrit language, it's a song. It's a poem. Now we want to take one verse and make it mantra. Isko siddh kar dena. That is what the Ishta Upasana is all about. Go through the Gita. Find one verse that absolutely resonates. There's an incident in the life of Bhagwan Swaminarayan. Shriji Maharaj asked one time one of his householder devotees. I think either it is Dinanath Bhatt or Mayaram Bhatt, one of them. I think probably Dinanath Bhatt, if I'm not mistaken. He's a Pandit of the Bhagavatam. He had the entire Srimad Bhagavatam memorized. 18,000 verses were memorized, and he would recite the verses in front of Maharaj. This is 240-50 years back. Maharaj asked him this beautiful question. This is what Sachin is talking about here right now. He asked, Pandit Ji, you have memorized all these verses. Out of these 18,000 verses, show me one verse that you have internalized that is for your moksha. Oh, so he was shocked to hear that question. He's a Pandit of the, he thinks, he knows the Bhagavatam backwards and forward. But Maharaj is saying, yeah, you know it backwards and forward, and you can chant it and talk about it and all that. That's okay. That's beautiful, great accomplishment. Bahut sundar baat hai. But out of those 18,000 verses, is there one verse that you have selected for your mukti, for your moksha? What a question. See, this is what Sadgurus are all about, enlightened beings. They are interested in enlightenment, not intellectual, just holding on to information. So then Dinanath Bhatt, he couldn't answer this question. He couldn't answer it. So then Maharaj said, I know you very well. I'm going to show you which is yours. And then that verse is there. It's referenced in the Vachanamrut also. Prasangamajaram pashmatmanha kavayo viduhu sa eva sadhu shukruto mokshadwaram apavrutam. That is from the Kapil Gita. That verse is there. Kapil Dev Bhagavan has taught his mother the Brahma Vidya. That is called Shri Kapil Gita. It is in the Bhagavatam. There's multiple Gitas in the Bhagavatam also. So Kapil Gita is in the Bhagavatam. Uddhav Gita is in the Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita is in the Mahabharata. Gita meaning Upadesham, that is given by enlightened master to another person. That is called Gita. See, so this is our sadhana. From all of this historical background and these incidences, take the Bhagavad Gita. Hopefully you have it. It's all available online. PDFs are available. If you need something I'll send it to you. I have a massive amount of material on the Gita. एक श्लोक को सिलेक्ट कर देना. This is our sadhana today and for the rest of this year and for the rest of life actually. Take one verse and make it your own. कि मेरा जीवन is this way. It could be so many. Tulya ninda, sutir mauni, santushta, yena kenachita, aniketa stiramati, bhaktiman me priyonara. You can take that verse, or atman nevatmana tushta. Take that verse. Go through the whole Gita first. Sachin's recommendation, if you were to ask for my recommendation, I would say select a verse from chapter 12. Because that is Bhakti Yoga, and that any of those verses, after probably not the first one or two, because that's more about question and answer, Bhagavan Krishna. But then he says, Maya Avesha Mano Imam. Go through chapter 12 in detail and make one of those verses, or any other chapters, or also find out, it should touch you, like, that feeling should come, wow. Antakaran mein iska bhav aana chahiye, what is, how extraordinary. Like for example, you've heard Sachin say, Yomam pashyati sarvatra, sarvam cha mai pashyati, tasyaham na pranashyami, Sachamena pranashyati. As a child, as a teenager growing up, I used to see this verse written in Hindu temples, in different mandirs. And it struck me at that time. Ye baat hai. This stayed with me for so many years. And that is a prarthana that may this be the reality. Kisi ko batane ki baat nahi hai. This is an internal link. Select one. You can select more than one. I mean, the whole Gita is together. You can love the entire Gita. But ek shlok select karna, that, and usko siddha karna. And when we do that, the whole Gita will come inside there. This is taught in the Swaminarayan Sampradaya. Isko kehte hai Angna Vachanamrut. Jisko jo Vachanamrut hai, Bhagwan Swaminarayan ka. Most devotees are supposed to have one Vachanamrut, that is their central one. Out of the 273 talks, you can select any one of them. And then master that. Go into it completely. Make it your life. All the other talks, everything else will sink inside. Because it is inside of us. It's already inside of us. That Bhagavan that we are looking for is actually inside the Atman. Yasya Atma Shariram. हमारे में ही ये वो तत्व, इसको ओपन करना है, इसका अनुभव करना है. And to do so, keep this in mind, that the development of Shraddha means all doubts are clear. If there are doubts, questions, whatever it might be, talk about it, ask about it, go into it. Do not simply section it off. You see, and that is how Shraddha. See, there is a beautiful Murti. Srinivas ji has opened that his camera. That is a Shirdi Sai Baba, and this was his teaching. Shraddha and Saburi. It's right there on the screen there. This is the whole point we're talking about. What is that Shraddha? That Shraddha is where the intellectual analysis is no longer going on. It is clear. It is a dimension beyond intellectual analysis. Shraddhavan. See this word in the Gita? Shraddhavan. Van means one who possesses Shraddha. Or more accurately, one who is possessed, not like a ghost or something. One who is, Antakaran is infused with Shraddha. Shraddha is just infusing from inside. This is called Shraddha. In the Sai Baba temples, you see Shraddha, Saburi. 2 words are there all the time over there. And this is an infusion from inside. So in that Shraddha, then what happens? The linkage with Ishta, Bhagwan ki jo murti hai. Abhi now this is the 3rd dimension of Shraddha. Bhagwan ka jo vigrah hai, Vigraha or Sannidhi sometimes it is called, or it is called Archa Avatar. Bhagwan ka jo vigrah hai, like Krishna, Sri Krishna, Shri Radha, or Guru Parampara, or Bhagwan ka jo dham, Bhagwan ke mukta. This is all Satyam. It is real. It's not just a murti, and this is the difference. When you have a murti inside your temple at home, or upasana karni hai Bhagwan ki, that Shraddha has to be there, that ye Parabrahma hai, ye Bhagwan Swayam hai in this form, for me. Ananta Koti Brahmand ke jo Adhipati hai, present everywhere, present everything, is jitna tatvik Aishwarya, that is all present here in front of me. You know what it's like? If you have $1 trillion account in one bank, and you look at your bank, the papers they give you when you open the account, and then there's usually one signature paper that says, this is your account, it's your name. When you look at that, what do you see? This is $1 trillion mera hai. You have the card, you have checkbook, it's yours, nobody else's, right? I mean, in that sense that this is mine. Now, obviously, that account number, that information that is there, that is known to you. It is your relationship with the bank. Why the relationship with the bank? Because the money is there. Similarly, when the murti is present in front of us, Shraddha, the dimension of Shraddha is such where there is, first of all, no doubt, or let's put it another way, there is 100% nishta that Param Tattva that we cannot imagine, Ananta Brahmand ke jo pati hai, Ananta Koti Ishwaro hai, Ananta, everything that is beyond and beyond and beyond, everything is present in front of me. Just like you have that piece of paper that says this account is yours, what do you feel? $1 trillion is with me. This is just an example, worldly example. Similarly, Bhagwan Krishna ki jo murti, what more is remaining? Aur kya chahiye? All that is needed now is just to do our duties in the world, and that is also done through the murti, in the murti. It is not done through the ahankar, through the ego, through all kinds of this rag, dvesh, klesh. I don't even want to mention those things actually. It trash can hai sab. It trash can ko kitni baar mention karna. I wish I would never have to mention those things again. But unfortunately, we have to talk about that because we have to separate that out. That has to be completely thrown out. And it's like that. It's like when you know you're a trillionaire, not billionaire, trillionaire, and then still act like a poor person, live like a poor person, forget that you're a kitni murkhta hai. Start working a minimum wage job at Taco Bell. Trillionaire hai, or working minimum wage job, getting into conflicts and arguments and worries and tension and fear. Isko kehte agnan. This is called agnan, and to remove that agnan, Bhagwan ki prapti in the Swaminarayan Sampradaya, isko kehte prapti no vichar. Kaun malaya chhe? Mujhko kaun mila hai? Bhagwan mile hai. ऐसी अपार श्रद्धा और अंतःकरण में all the fear goes away. Abhayam sattva sanshuddhi, chapter 16 of the Gita. Fear goes away. Rag dvesh goes away. No kind of deficiency. We are afraid all the time. What if this happens? What if this happens? Nothing is going to happen. Let it happen what's going to happen. And whatever is happening only by the divine will of my Ishta and nobody else. This is called Shraddha. This is called Param Shraddha in the Ishta Devata. And is that possible for us? Absolutely. Absolutely it is possible. Why is it not possible? But this requires mananam, chintan, asking questions, taking the path, taking that path. There's beginning stages, middle stages, Shraddha doesn't open just like that. It takes time. It starts with the Gita. Then you go into the Bhagavatam. Then there's questions. There's all kinds of questions. They have to be cleared out. All the people online right now and those listening later, if you have questions, not that Sachin has all the answers, but if the questions are there, we can find the answers. And the answers are available. And it's not just an intellectual answer. The answer is for the purpose of developing Shraddha that will take us, that will link us with Paramatma. It's not just an intellectual analysis. There's I've heard many sages talk about what is a question. When somebody asks a question, you know what a question really is? Like Arjuna is asking these questions to the Sri Krishna. Think of it this way. When a person is very, very thirsty, we've all experienced it on hot days or whenever. Taras lagi ho, in Gujarati mein kehun. All we can think of is water. We cannot think of anything else. That is called jignasa or questioning. Questioning not just for just throwing. Some people only are throwing questions. They don't want to know anything, learn anything. ऐसे ही सब फेंक देते प्रश्न. इसको कोई अर्थ नहीं. Question is asked for one's own internal growth. That is called question. इसको प्रश्न कहते हैं. तद विधि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया. Bhagavan Krishna is teaching this, that tad viddhi pranipatena. Pranipatena means with humility, with real, genuine curiosity and all, you are approaching the great teachers. Tad viddhi. Viddhi means you want to know. This is not clear, this is not clear, this is not clear. Yes. Get it clarified so that Shraddha can develop. So we can get to the starting point of Shraddha. Tad viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena. Pariprashnena means ask, question, answer. Why? For the purpose of inner development. Who has got the answers? God. Through the Gita, through the teachings of the great acharyas. What Sachin is here is simply presenting what has come in the last thousands of years. There's nothing Sachin has created by himself. Hamara to kuch hai hi nahi. Unka hai sab. And we're just putting it together and offering it to the world. Haan, aisi baat hai. It's being put together synthetically and offered to the world by Guru Krupa. Bas. But wo kiska hai? Bhagwan ka hai. Bhagwan hi hai wo. That is the tattva that is coming. So tad viddhi pranipatena pari prashnena sevaya. Seva. What is the seva? Seva means to perform actions in alignment with the answers that have been given and to serve the world with seva bhav. To serve the community with seva bhav. To serve the family with seva bhav. Seva begins at home. Don't worry about others first.
From your calendar, Puja Zumo starts in 30 minutes.
Alexa, stop. So seva begins at home. Seva even to begin with for oneself. Seva muktischa gamyatam in the Shikshapatri. Tatra brahmatmana Krishna se. Seva muktischa gamyatam. Kitni sundar baat hai. Ye to bahut badi baat hai. What is seva? Sevan. What is sevan? We'll talk about that tomorrow. Bhagwan ki murti ka ras pina. Raso vaisaha. Kaise pina. That is all. We've talked about it before, but we'll go into it further in terms of this dimension of Shraddha. So for today, what is our sadhana? Where is our level of Shraddha in the Gita? Let's stay with that point. Bhagavad Gita mein kitni Shraddha hai? First of all, if we have not done so, read the Gita every day, silently, in front of the Murti, with a small diya, with Pujya Bhav. Start from the beginning, from verse number 1, chapter 1, and go all the way through. Every day, 10 verses, 15 verses, 20 verses. Do not back off. It's just as don't we eat food 3 times a day? So we should be doing this also. Bhagavad Gita is the absolute foundation. Every single person who says they are part of Sanatana Dharma must, without exception, read the Gita, study the Gita, know the Gita. If we do not maintain our tradition, this tradition, how the world will be benefited? Other traditions may not be benefited because we ourselves don't understand what we are doing. We have a responsibility to maintain this tradition. We have a responsibility to promote the teachings of the Gita, which are universal. And we have a responsibility for our own Jivatma to take it to reach the Paramatma. And the Gita has been around for, since Bhagwan Vedvyasji wrote it. Every Acharya has talked about it. Every saint has talked about it. There's no exception. And it is, wo Gita Divya Vani hai, Divya Vani. Anybody who says put the Gita on the side, this is a mistake. Gita is the absolute foundation. Bhagavad Gita. Or all alag sab shastra hai, other commentaries, everything is a support for that. It is coming from that only. You cannot remove that. It's a mistake to do that. So that should not be done, right? That is our prarthana. And then only we're losing if we remove the Gita out of the picture. Who is at loss? So, bahut dhyan rakhna. This is the prarthana for today. And let's continue on this beautiful path. I'll try to stick to time. I've been going way over time every day, so sorry about that. I'll try to stick to time. End around 9 o'clock, maybe 9:05 or so, But this is the beautiful journey ahead. It's a tremendous journey. Are there going to be some setbacks up and down? Yes. Of course there are. So what? A child doesn't learn to run the first day. The child falls down 100 times. But he gets up and eventually can walk without holding anything. And then eventually can grow and then eventually can walk fast and run and etc. Then ride bicycles and drive cars and go into space shuttles and do all kinds of things. Nothing happens in one day, but wherever we are now, find out where we are now with regards to Shraddha, right now. Find that out clearly, and then find out what is the next step. And keep progressing. That's what life is not for spinning in these, spinning in the sansar chakra blindly. It is to walk in the sansara chakra without raga and dvesha. Raga dvesha viyuktaistu vishayan indriyesharan. It is to move in the sansar with eyes open, not blindly, and not getting trapped and stuck and damaged with so many other people who are already trapped, stuck and damaged. Wish well for them. Try to help them. Try to serve them. Learn from them also. But don't get stuck with somebody else's ajnana. Get stuck with Shankaracharya ji's Gnan. Get stuck with the Gita's Gnan. You want to get stuck somewhere? Bhagwan or Bhagwan ke jo sant hai, Bhagwan ke jo bhakt hai, unke saath stuck ho jana. S-T-U-C-K. Unke saath bandhan rakhna. Ye kya hai sab? Trash. Trash can ke saath kya bandhan rakhna? Trash can is there to take the trash and throw it out of the house. Don't bring it back inside. This is viveka. It's not avgur. It's not taking faults of anybody, but recognizing this doesn't belong. Kam, krodh, lobh, moh, matsar, asha, trishna, irsha, ahankar, rag, dvesh, mera, tera, ye jo sab continuous chalta hai in this sansar. Asangatva, mere iske saath kuch lena dena nahi. Asanga shastrena. I keep mentioning this, not just to repeat it. It is to realize it. Realization is the goal. Repetition is the sadhana. That is part of the Manan Chintan process, Mananam. It is a sadhana. But the goal, Asanga Shastrena, Dhrudena Chitva, Bhagwan Krishna, chapter 15. You've heard me, Sachin, say this I'll say it another 1,000 times more. Until that sthiti is reached, even after the sthiti is reached, still we say that. Because it is Divyavani. Even half a verse of the Gita is enough. Even one drop is enough. Because one drop is also Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. That one drop, one concept, one idea, one word even is Bhagwan Swayam. Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. This is Sanatan Dharma. This is the glory of Sanatan Dharma. And if we don't have इसका महिमा हमारे अंतर में नहीं है तो who we're expecting somebody else on the outside to understand these things, to follow? We ourselves have to awaken where we are, what we are doing, and where we are headed, and what we can do for this sansar and for our families and for our communities. Right? These are the points to think about. So with that, let's stop here for now. Lots of prarthana to all of you, and lots of prarthana for your blessings and for the blessings of all the great sages. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Shri Radha Krishnaya Namo Namaha. Om Aim Rim Klim Chamundaye Viche Swaha. Durge Durge Rakshini Tha Tha Swaha.